Greetings and salutations. Today we will be covering the mysterious murder of Marcia King. In the annals of unsolved crime, the murder of Marcia Lenore Sossoman stands as a haunting enigma. Born June 9th, 1959, Marcia was a young woman of only 21 years old when her life was abruptly cut short. In April 1981, her body, a tragic testament to the heinous act, lay concealed in Troy, Ohio for approximately 48 hours before its discovery. However, for 3 decades afterwards, her identity remained shrouded in darkness, rendering her an unidentified victim of unspeakable violence. In a remarkable breakthrough, DNA analysis and genetic genealogy finally unveiled the identity of the victim. Her name, Marcia Lenore Sossoman, or as she is also known as Marcia King, was identified in April of 2018. Her true identity, which had been concealed for so long, was revealed to the world, forever freeing her from the moniker of the Buckskin Girl in the absence of her name. It alludes to the distinctive buckskin poncho she was found in. The emergence of Marcia King's name in the public sphere sparked a renewed sense of urgency in her case. Her grieving family recognized the significance of this revelation. They would erect a new headstone at her final resting place in Riverside Cemetery. Carved into stone was her name, which would serve as a poignant reminder of her life, which was unjustly taken. Yet despite this critical breakthrough, the case remains an active investigation. Investigators locked in perpetual search for answers, hoping to bring closure to those who loved Marcia. The authorities tried tirelessly to continue their relentless quest for justice, and in the process, they have left no stone unturned. Yet, despite this, and the critical breakthrough which was identifying her, the case of the Buckskin Girl remains unsolved. As we delve deeper into the depths of this perplexing murder, we are greeted with the knowledge that even with the breakthrough of identifying Marcia King, justice still remains elusive. Her case remains a captivating enigma. It would be a fateful encounter on April 24th, 1981, when 3 young men stumbled upon a most grim and unsettling sight. As they traversed Greenlee Road in Newton Township, Troy, Ohio, their attention was captivated by a peculiar buckskin poncho adorning the body of a young Caucasian woman lying in a ditch. Greg, one of the trio, was the first to spot the distinctive garment. Intrigued, he beckoned his friend, Neil, so he too may witness the unusual sight. Neil would then approach due to curiosity, and only then would he be struck by a startling realization. Concealed beneath the poncho was the lifeless form of a young woman. The tragic figure lay motionless, curled up in the fetal position on her right side. She was bereft of shoes or socks. Instantly recognizing the gravity of their discovery, the young men promptly would go on to alert authorities, ensuring that the haunting encounter would not go unnoticed. Now, onto the autopsy. Following the discovery of the deceased body, an autopsy was conducted that very same afternoon, which would unravel the harrowing details of her demise. The medical examiner exposed the extent of the brutality inflicted upon her. It was determined that she had suffered severe blunt force trauma to the head and neck, leaving no doubt that violence had befallen her. Moreover, evidence indicated that she had been strangled to death approximately 48 hours prior to the recovery of her remains. The examination further revealed a laceration in her liver, adding another chilling layer to the tragedy. It is important to note that there was no adult type of assault found on her body, thus providing some crucial insight into the nature of the crime. On to the physical description. The deceased woman stood between 5'4" and 5'6". Her age was estimated to be between 18 and 26 years old. She possessed a slender frame weighing approximately 125 to 130 pounds. Her natural reddish-brown hair was neatly parted in the middle and cascaded into braided pigtails on both sides of her head, which some reports note added a touch of innocence to her appearance. Her eyes were a shade of light brown. There were a series of freckles which adorned her face, supposedly enhancing a unique charm. Most notably of all was her nose, which was described as being very pointed, a supposedly distinguishing feature. Her ruddy complexion suggested she had an affinity for the outdoors, hinting at a life spent under the open skies, at least during the final weeks or months leading up to her untimely death. Dental and scarring details go on to show that she had apparently been committed to rather good personal hygiene. Her teeth, including her wisdom teeth, were noted to be in excellent condition, and her mouth was devoid of fillings, serving as a testament to her dental care. However, a porcelain crown did adorn her upper right incisor, indicating a previous procedure. Additionally, her body bore the marks of the life she had lived. Notable scars were observed, including a vertical scar beneath her chin, as well as one on her wrist and both arms, and at least one of her ankles had an observable scar, offering a glimpse into the potential experiences she endured. Up next is the initial investigation. Upon discovery of the deceased body, approximately 48 hours after her death, investigators swiftly collected vital forensic evidence, including fingerprints and dental information. However, these efforts failed to yield any matches to any known missing persons or anyone with a criminal record. In an attempt to establish her identity, a composite sketch of her face was created and disseminated through the local newspapers and television on April 28, 1981. This generated a significant amount of responses. Around 200 leads would be followed. Regrettably, despite the thorough investigation, none of these leads would provide a breakthrough. With her identity still elusive, the unidentified victim would gain the moniker of the Buckskin Girl, named after the distinctive tasseled buckskin she wore at the time of her discovery. It must be noted that the lack of identification posed a significant obstacle to the solving of her murder. Investigators would go on to surmise that her anonymity was due to the possibility that she had been killed far from her hometown, a belief further reinforced upon observations of a retired investigator who doubted that she was originally from the area where her body was found. Authorities strongly suspected the Buckskin Girl had been slain elsewhere, and her body had been callously abandoned beside the road shortly after her demise. Evidence supporting this theory included the absence of dirt on her bare feet, suggesting that she had not walked on a dirty surface, as well as the convenient proximity to Interstate 75, just a few short miles from the interstate to the recovery site. This would offer an opportune and discreet location to dispose of the body. Speculation arose regarding her potential status as a teenage runaway or a victim of a serial killer, which was believed to be active in the region during the 1980s and the 1990s, targeting prostitutes. However, the absence of any signs of adult assault led authorities to conclude that it was unlikely that she had been involved in adult work. Over time, the Buckskin Girl's murder investigation gradually transitioned to that of a cold case. Nevertheless, diligent efforts persisted as law enforcement officials retained her clothing and other physical evidence from the crime scene, including a preserved blood sample. Theories surrounding the Buckskin Girl. In the quest to uncover the identity and the circumstances of the Buckskin Girl, investigators have put forth various theories. One prevailing theory suggests that she may have been a runaway teenager or a foster child, potentially even a transient wanderer with limited ties to Ohio before her untimely demise. However, her impeccable personal hygiene indicates that she did not live a vagrant lifestyle. The proximity of her body to a town road rather than the highway further diminishes the likelihood of her being a long-term wanderer. Another theory that emerged from the absence of her footwear at the crime scene was that the Buckskin Girl may have been the victim of an abusive partner. This hypothesis raises the question about potential domestic violence that may have ultimately led to her tragic fate. Further investigation has provided additional insight into the Buckskin Girl's past. Isotope analysis conducted in 2016 revealed that she had spent approximately 4 months in the area of the southwestern or southeastern United States. Forensic chronology suggests that her origin is in the northeastern United States or in Canada, or that she spent extended periods of time in this region. The case of the Buckskin Girl, also known as Marcia King, has sparked speculation amongst investigators and internet sleuths regarding potential connections to other murders. One of these involved the murder of a 27-year-old woman 2 months prior to Marcia's death in February 1981. Although they were never officially linked by the police, investigators initially concluded that there could be a possible connection between the two killings. In 1985, a tentative link was established between the Buckskin Girl's murder and a series of nationwide murders targeting Caucasian women. This series of killings were known as the Redhead Murders. Said murders involved victims who were sex workers or exotic dancers. However, further investigations disproved this theory. Another line of inquiry which was explored was the possibility that the Buckskin Girl may have been the first victim of an unidentified serial killer responsible for killing a series of people from 1985 to 2004. The suspected killer primarily targeted young women, many of whom were known or suspected to be sex workers. The victims shared similarities with the Buckskin Girl, as they were murdered through bludgeoning and strangulation, with missing items of clothing or jewelry. However, several pieces of evidence contradict this theory. One of these is that, unlike the other victims of the suspected serial killer, there was no indication that the Buckskin Girl had been engaged in adult activities before her death. Furthermore, she displayed a high level of grooming and had a history of exemplary dental care, distinguishing her from the typical victims associated with this serial killer. In 1991, a task force was established in London, Ohio, comprised of investigators from various law enforcement organizations and agencies. This dedicated task force focused on solving unsolved homicides which occurred in Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. One of these cases was the case of the Buckskin Girl. The collaborative efforts aimed to shed light on these perplexing murders and to bring justice to the victims and their families. In the relentless pursuit of uncovering the identity of the Buckskin Girl, the case took a significant turn with the advent of technological advancements and DNA analysis being fully integrated into criminal investigations. In 1981, a blood sample was preserved from the deceased subject and would later be subjected to meticulous forensic scrutiny. This yielded a valuable source of DNA evidence. The genetic material would be then incorporated into law enforcement databases, thereby expanding the scope of the investigation. In 2001, the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory successfully generated a DNA profile for the Buckskin Girl, further bolstering the investigation. Subsequently, this crucial information was entered into a nationwide missing and unidentified persons database, ensuring nationwide access to her fingerprints, dental records, and DNA data for law enforcement agencies to be able to analyze. Through the diligent effort of forensic experts, the DNA profile was systematically compared against records of missing teenagers and young women, definitively ruling out 226 potential matches. Recognizing the significance of DNA analysis, a mitochondrial DNA sample was submitted to the FBI for inclusion into the Combined DNA Index system in 2009, broadening the search even further. During the investigation into the Buckskin Girl's family, Dr. Elizabeth Murray, a dedicated forensic anthropologist and biology professor, assumed the role of case manager within the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. It is noted that her commitment to solving this enduring mystery was one of the main forces propelling the investigation forward. She would ensure that no stone was left unturned in the quest to reveal the deceased's true identity. Through the tireless efforts of forensic professionals and the utilization of cutting-edge technologies, the story of the Buckskin Girl and the quest for her identity took a significant leap forward. This would breathe new life into the case that had remained shrouded in obscurity for decades. The journey to unravel the enigma continues even after her identity was found. In a pivotal moment of the investigation, the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory revealed the long-awaited identification of the deceased as being Marcia Lenore King, a 21-year-old woman from Little Rock, Arkansas. This breakthrough in April 9, 2018 was made possible through the meticulous DNA analysis conducted by the DNA Doe project in collaboration with the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory and the Full Genomes Corporation. The project successfully matched samples from Marcia to that of a first cousin, thanks to the assistance of Dr. Murray. Marcia was last seen by her family in 1980, though she had never been officially reported as missing. Her family had tirelessly searched for her throughout the years, unaware of her tragic fate. It is now known that she had frequently relied on hitchhiking as a means of transportation, a detail the investigation had long since suspected prior to her identification. Additionally, she had connections to both Pittsburgh and Louisville, Kentucky. While formal identification of the once enigmatic Buckskin Girl was a significant milestone in the Miami County Sheriff's Office, the office made it clear that the investigation into Marcia's killing remains ongoing. Addressing the media, a spokesperson emphasized the dedication of law enforcement to seek justice, stating, "Law enforcement never forgets, and we had a long journey to be where we are today." Their current focus now reportedly centers on unraveling the events surrounding the last month of Marcia's life, during which she had been known to have been present in both Louisville and Pittsburgh. As authorities confront the chilling reality of Marcia's fate along with her family after her identity had been restored, the questions surrounding her murder still linger. The investigation into the murder of the Buckskin Girl remains an ongoing endeavor, and in July of 2018, the Miami County Sheriff's Office received crucial information regarding her whereabouts prior to her untimely demise. Eyewitness testimonies placed her in Louisville, Kentucky, approximately 14 days prior to her death, and while 6 eyewitnesses confirmed her presence in Arkansas shortly before the tragic event. It is speculated that her journey to Ohio may have been connected to her alleged involvement with the religious organization known as The Way. In a significant development, the Miami County Sheriff's Office announced in February of 2020 that they had reconstructed a more comprehensive timeline of Marcia's activities and relationships during the weeks preceding her murder. Advancements in technology had now allowed them to retrieve nuclear DNA from her hair samples, even without the presence of the root. Consequently, hair samples discovered at the crime scene would be submitted to a lab in California, raising hopes of obtaining a nuclear DNA profile for either the perpetrator or an individual who had been in close proximity to Marcia before her tragic demise. As the investigation persists, the pursuit of justice for the Buckskin Girl continues, and the advancements in technology, along with DNA analysis, has offered a glimmer of hope that the truth behind her untimely death will be unveiled. If you remained with me until the end, I thank you, and I do hope you stay tuned and subscribe for more content.